Welcome to White Slash. I'm glad to have you on my channel. Let's jump into today's story. I, female 26, am raised by a single mom and moved out when I was around 22 years old. I have completed my master's degree recently and I'm looking for a job currently. I started dating this guy a few months back and I am head over heels in love with him. He is everything a woman would ask for and much more. I sometimes feel the luckiest to have him. He had moved in with me, and my life had turned 100 times more beautiful. My mom had been staying with my aunt, her sister, for a couple of months in another state, so I could not introduce my boyfriend to her, but of course, she knew I was dating someone. My mom is not on any social media platform, so let me clear that she had never seen my boyfriend before I introduced them. It is important to discuss my mom's love life here, as it has been a troubled one. My mom dated someone for almost 8 years before ending up with my dad. That man meant the world to my mom, and she was obsessed with him. They had been together for a good many years, and my mom used to write letters to him. She still has his letters with her. They both used to spend so much time together, and my mom could not spend a day without him. He had a family friend who was crazy for him, but according to him, he had no interest in her and kept a distance. My mom knew his friends and cousins, and one day, one of his cousins told my mom that her boyfriend was double dating and that a family friend was also his girlfriend. My mom confronted him, but he denied it and told her that his cousin was lying and wanted them to break up. My mom did not listen to them again. Almost 2 years later, my mom's boyfriend told him that his family had fixed his marriage with that family friend, and he could do nothing. My mom begged him and did everything she could, but of course, that guy had decided to marry his other girlfriend. Her boyfriend's cousin approached my mom again and asked her if she believed him then, as my mom's boyfriend and his family friend were actually dating. That was something that left a mark on my mom's life. I do not remember a day when she had not missed that guy or did not mention him. My mom started dating my dad 3 years later and then married him, but the relationship did not work out as, according to my dad, my mom could never get over that guy. My mom came back, and the first thing I wanted her to do was see my boyfriend. My mom arranged a dinner for both of us, and I was over the moon. We arrived early in the evening, and I could see my mom visibly upset and uncomfortable at the very sight of my boyfriend. We had our dinner and kept chit chatting, but I could feel my mom zoned out and upset throughout the evening. My boyfriend told us about his family, their business, and how his parents were still in love even after so many years of marriage. We also talked about how we had met and what we loved and hated about each other. When we had to leave, I told my boyfriend that I was going to stay with my mom. As soon as my boyfriend left, my mom started crying bitterly and was continuously apologizing. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that my boyfriend was her ex boyfriend's son. To be honest, that shattered me into pieces. I have seen my mom missing him terribly and remembering those beautiful moments they shared, even when he never looked back. She had been in pain for years as she did not even get closure for a relationship she thought she was in for a lifetime. My relationship with my boyfriend is as perfect as it could be, and I am, of course, not going to ditch him, but I cannot also put my mom in pain. I am just clueless. It is the second day at my mom's place, and my boyfriend has asked several times about when I'm going back to my apartment, but I have no guts to leave my mom and go to someone whose dad had caused a lifetime of damage to my mom. My mom didn't say anything about that and has been a bit quiet since then. Update 1. My mom told me that it was alright and I should not think that much, as she had been living in past years and did not want her past to ruin my present. She told me that whatever my boyfriend's dad did was his mistake and my boyfriend should not be punished for that. She told me to call him and tell him to pick me up from my mom's house. I asked my mom several times if she was alright with my relationship, and she told me that I was being ridiculous and should focus on my relationship. My boyfriend came to pick me up, and my mom was much better this time. She apologized to him and told him that she was just not feeling well that day and could not spend quality time. We came back, and I kept on thinking about my mom. I could not decide whether to tell my boyfriend about the whole situation or not. I called my mom the next day and told her that I was not comfortable at all. She told me that it was up to me and I could do whatever I wanted, but it was of no use to discuss the past, as it would only damage our relationship. She said that I should forget about the whole thing and act like before. I told her that I was there for her and she was the best mom in the world. Update 2. My boyfriend came back from his office and told me that his family was hosting a party as it was his parents' anniversary and we were invited. He told me that we were flying to them the next weekend. I couldn't digest that news as I had no idea how I was going to face that man and how I was supposed to stop myself from saying something that would ruin the whole party because my mom never deserved to be cheated on like that. We flew to my boyfriend's parents' house and were going to stay at their place. My boyfriend's dad was a successful real estate dealer and owned a huge house. They had thrown a lavish party and it was all glittery and showy. I could not get my mom out of my mind and kept remembering her weeping face and broken heart. I do not know when I went to the stage, held the mic, and started speaking. I wished for my boyfriend's parents and then said that I had lost hope in karma, as they were living a great life even after destroying someone else's. Everyone stood awestruck, and then I asked my boyfriend's dad if he had ever missed his ex girlfriend because she did not even skip a single day without remembering him. My boyfriend's dad stood stunned and did not even move. I told my boyfriend that I wanted to come back, and if he wanted to stay, he could. My boyfriend came back with me as he thought I was sick or something. I explained everything to him, and he could not believe it. AITA? Update 3. My boyfriend's parents kept calling him, but he was too shocked to respond to them. When he picked up his dad's call, his dad asked who I was and how I knew about his ex girlfriend. I took my boyfriend's phone and told his dad that I was his ex girlfriend's daughter and was unfortunately dating his son. I told him that he was the most disgusting person in the world who had played with my mom's life and had shattered her heart. He said that he had to make a decision, and he and my mom were not compatible at all. I told him to shut up and hung up the phone. We did not respond to their calls and texts after that. A few days later, my boyfriend's mom came and I told my boyfriend that he had to leave my apartment as soon as possible. She told him that she never knew that her son was dating someone that low and would have banned her from his life if she knew earlier. My boyfriend told her that he was not going anywhere and she could leave, but she was too stubborn to understand. She looked at me and told me that it was very difficult for her to remove my promiscuous mom from her husband's life, and she never knew she had to deal with me too. I grabbed her from her arm and dragged her to the outside and told her that she had to get lost. I told my boyfriend that he could leave if he wanted to, but he told me that he was not going anywhere. Update 4. My boyfriend was told by his parents that he could not stay with me as I was not good for him, and they kept calling him to come back to their state. My boyfriend took a stand and told his dad that he had already ruined my mom's life and did not even regret it, but he was never going to do that to someone. He also told them that they could not control his life and should focus on their own. A few days later, my boyfriend's mom called and told him that if he did not dump me, she was going to deprive him of their will and he could then spend his life depending on the cheap job he had. My boyfriend told her that she could keep everything with her and that he was never interested in their property, and if he ever was, he would not have opted for a job. He also told his mom that he was not going to talk to her again until she apologized to him and behaved herself. His mom, of course, would never apologize to me, so my boyfriend is not talking to his parents at all. NTA. Being that emotional for your mom, especially when she had suffered emotionally that much, makes sense and your reaction was justified. I can feel what OP had felt at that party and what had made her do that in front of everyone. She managed her relationships well and made sure she was playing fair on both sides. I hope her mom finds peace and gets over that filth. NTA. OP's reaction was just so accurate. Anyone would have done that if they were in OP's place. The real a-holes of the story were OP's boyfriend's parents who had no regrets. My boyfriend's mom was a witch and took pride in being one. I hope karma hits her badly. The boyfriend's dad was also shameless and had no guilt at all. Sick people. I, 42 female, have a son, male 24. I had my son Dean at 18 and am very attached to him because my parents kicked me out and my ex walked out, so I raised him all by myself. About 1 year ago, Dean met a girl, Hannah, while at a bar. She seemed nice when I met her, but Dean had just broken up with another girl, Emma, 3 weeks prior. Emma and Dean had been dating since they were seniors in high school, and I was so excited when Dean proposed about 4 weeks prior to meeting Hannah. The problem arose when Emma found out she was unable to have kids. Dean has always told me how much he wanted to have kids. He always wanted to be there for them because he didn't get to have a father. Once Dean found out about Emma not being able to have kids, he broke up with her. I was so upset because I didn't understand why he couldn't just adopt or hire a surrogate to have kids instead. Fast forward to 3 weeks later, and he meets Hannah at a bar. Like I said, she seemed nice, but I was still upset about him breaking it off with Emma. Last week, he proposed to Hannah and she said yes. I was happy for him. The problem here is that we were talking at the dinner table and the topic of children came up, not by me. I asked Hannah about how many children she wanted, and she told me that she hated kids and never wanted them. I looked at Dean thinking this may be a shock to him, but he didn't even look shocked at all. Here's where I may be the AH. I asked my son in front of Hannah why he proposed to a girl that does not want kids, but broke up an arrangement with the girl that he dated for 6 years because she was incapable of having kids. Dean's eyes got wide and he started turning red with embarrassment. Hannah was shocked and said something along the lines of, "Since when were you engaged?" That's when I remembered that Dean told me to never bring up his engagement with Emma because he was scared of how Hannah would react. Hannah left the table. I asked him the question again, and he said that he was going to change Hannah's mind. I told him that Hannah was older than him and had had so much more time to think about the topic, and she was most likely dead set on the idea of not wanting kids and hating them. I really wish I had just kept my mouth shut. Then Dean stormed off after Hannah. So, AITA? I'm gonna go against the grain and say NTA. I think your son is behaving in a ridiculous manner, making snap decisions that he will end up regretting. From your post, it sounds like he hasn't known Hannah for very long and he's already proposed to her. Not only that, but he hasn't been honest with her about his own intentions. It's scary to think that he does not care about Hannah's desires regarding her own body and future. You didn't insult Hannah. You were simply shocked and asked your son why he's making the decisions he is making, which are questionable at best. People are saying you ruined their relationship, but it wasn't much of a relationship to begin with if it was essentially built on dishonesty. And I think the advice you gave him is exactly right. She has thought about this longer and harder than he has. I don't think that what you did was malicious. Sure, you weren't supposed to mention the engagement, and you didn't follow through on a promise to your son, but I think that ultimately would have enabled his poor behavior. He got engaged twice, in how long? And Hannah, his fiance, doesn't have a right to this information? I think you prevented more heartache than you caused, personally. I, 33 female, have been privately renting an apartment since March 2021. I have always paid my rent on time and kept the place in pristine condition. My landlord, LL, phoned me at the end of Feb to extend the lease for another year. We talked, and I explained I would be going on holiday to visit my partner for 2 weeks. He already knew of the pregnancy. We agreed that the rent would increase, so I asked her to forward on a lease renewal with the updated agreement. The day of my holidays has come. LL wished me a pleasant trip as I leave. The next day, LL calls me out of the blue and tells me I have a month to leave the apartment. I break down while on holiday. I can barely think of anything else. Throughout my holiday, I email a local renters advice organization and ask if this is legal. I also try to find an alternative place to live. I ask my landlord for help in returning my deposit, but he refuses. When I get home, LL tells me I need the apartment for my family. You will be out by the deadline and then I'll return your deposit. I've 2 weeks left and nowhere to go. I explain this and ask for more time. Again, I am shut down. I'm 5.5 months pregnant. I also have hyperemesis. The sickness can be between 15 and 27 times a day. I've been hospitalized 3 times because of dehydration. Finally, the renter's org replies to me and says that what he is doing is completely illegal and I have not to leave the apartment. They all advise me to handwrite a letter telling him it's not a legal eviction, so I will not be leaving. I do so. I immediately get bombarded with texts, calls, and emails threatening me with legal action and generally being abusive. LL also suggests that I have lied to people regarding the situation. I didn't respond except to ask for any disagreements, updates to be done via post, as is the law. I got a letter back the next day. It said the date of termination but didn't include the rent increase in the actual notice of termination. The renters org said I don't have to agree to such an increase as it wasn't included in the legal document. Even if I did agree, it wouldn't be implemented for 90 days. I am now 6 months pregnant. My condition is not great due to the stress. Finally, the time for rent came and I gave my normal rent as I was advised. Again, LL went insane. He demanded the increase be put into his account immediately. He even pounded on my front door at 8:30 in the morning. I worked from home but didn't answer. I reminded him that all disputes must be given by letter as per law. The landlord insisted I was breaking the agreement and he wants me to leave before August and I'm not getting my deposit back now. I have refused to leave without a suitable alternative. I have been trying, but there is a serious housing crisis in my country right now. The local authorities are still processing requests from January. I wish I could just leave and cut my losses, but neither of us are very well paid and I don't have anyone that can afford to help. AITA? NTA. Follow the advice of Renters Org. Follow the legal process and make sure the landlord follows it too. Do not fall for anything the landlord says or tries to force and trick you into. What he tried to do to you was wrong and illegal. He brought this upon himself when he tried to sneak around the proper process for his own benefit. You have to look out for yourself in this situation. Sorry you are going through this. Good luck to you.